Hey everybody, it's Bill. I hope you've had a good week. This is the introduction to week 8 in BA 210, Design Thinking and Innovative Solutions. First, I want to start off with some thanks and some gratitude for the work that you all did in the labs this week. In particular, the great feedback that you were providing for your colleagues and the other teams, but also for how that feedback kind of developed into a conversation about how you could help and improve and what your thoughts were on each other's projects. And I just feel like that collegiality and that camaraderie is certainly very helpful and well in line with the service center environment that you're trying to create and that you are now living in this class. So first, thank you very much for that. And one of the other things that I noticed is I was providing feedback on your plans. And as we began to spend more and more time on what you're working on, is the real value and the importance of the questions that you're asking in your interviews. And I have to start out by saying that because we're having this conversation because you have already come to the table and have created a lot of questions that you are asking in your interviews, which puts you quite a bit ahead of students that have taken this class in the past. So again, I want to thank you for that. And so one of the things that I found that I was providing feedback on, both on your project plans and in class and in labs, was how that you were asking your questions. And in particular, the feedback was in two areas. First, are you asking an open-ended neutral question? That is, are you asking a question where you can really get at what your user's true experience is? Or are you leading them down a path where they can only answer the question if something good or something bad is happening? What we really want to know in user-centered design is what that user's experience is like, whether it is positive or negative. In fact, whether it's positive or negative is a judgment that we make in a lot of cases. We just want to know what is. So it's important that your questions reflect that. The other thing that we've kind of gotten into, especially in the Tuesday lab, is this fine line between asking a question that is too open-ended, that won't really get you a lot of information that's useful to you, or asking it so narrowly that the information that you get could very easily be a yes or a no, and not really a vivid description of an experience. So one of the pieces of feedback that I find that I'm giving consistently, and I think it bears some repeating now, is that before you can determine what the question is that you're going to ask, you have to take that step back, as we've discussed, and you have to figure out what it is that you want to know towards a piece, of course, of your challenge question that's always at the top and the center of our focus when we're asking questions or making decisions or working on any aspects of this process to move your ideas along. And so when you ask that question, the nice thing about it is you can answer it in different ways depending on who it is that you're asking it of. So a number of the groups were recognizing that they needed to ask questions differently of faculty than they would maybe of students in a particular program, and then maybe even differently than students that are outside of a program or outside of the university at all. So as you're creating your questions, don't skip that step of trying to figure out what it is that you want to know, so that you can make sure if you do ask a really well-constructed question that you're going to get the information that you need if it's thoughtfully answered. And that's the best you can do. And then the next step from that, which is a higher level, and again, a level where I'm very excited that we are at that point with a lot of the groups, is that if you get a really good answer, or if you get an answer that needs some more detail, you are in a position with a personal interview to be able to drill down and to ask follow-up questions. Again, very much in line of one of the fundamental premises of providing feedback or receiving feedback, drilling down and probing, and also provided with a great example of the video that I sent and I put under additional resources in the module last week, where you saw a preceptor providing feedback to a team of teachers that are in a group at the Kennedy School. And what was really striking in that whole video was how the instructor probed the user or the storyteller to better define her experience. Where was it? When was it? What did you feel? To make all of those key detailed points so that you could create a connection. Now, one of the things that you're probably noticing is that with your story of us, you are trying to very carefully and clearly define your experience, what has called you collectively, how this challenge reflects your value. Because what you want to do is, in vivid detail, using emotion, authenticity, and vulnerability, is to describe your experience, to introduce yourself to a potential user who you're working with, or to a number of users or peers that could provide feedback to you as you're making a presentation. But by the same token, you're going out and you are creating questions so that you can be empathetic and you can create, and not create, but so that you can understand fully what that user's experience is like. And you want to bring out of them emotion and authenticity and vulnerability so that you can get a great sense of what their experience and what their pain points are and how they view success. So this whole idea of experience and being able to describe it and being able to capture it is really at the crux of design thinking. And those things are coming together this week as we dig into our story of us and we start to ramp up the level of questions that we're asking in our interviews. Because the next step as we get out of the inspiration phase and into the ideation phase is being able to take those insights to develop themes that we may start to work on and develop further into a key idea. And we will start with that this week as we present the idea sketch and what will go into the ideation process to create that idea sketch. I'm looking forward to that. I sent out an email this week. One of the things I noticed is that there is a lot of good work going on. And so I have extended the deadline for the Impact Gap Canvas due dates. They will be due on the day of your lab. So section 1, it'll be due at midnight on Monday. Section 2, it will be due at midnight on Tuesday. Certainly you're free to turn those in a little bit early, but I thought that you might be able to use the weekend and maybe even the opportunity for some additional feedback in lab before you tune those in. Looking forward to another good week. If I can be of any assistance with your meetings, please email me. I'd be happy to try to sit in. Until then, I will see you next Monday in lecture. Have a good weekend, everybody.